has logged on. I just want to give a brief, as my friend Jeff says, rant. He sends in rants sometimes to the Delray Democrat. So this is my rant. First off, I'm happy to see some new faces and names here tonight. So for those that don't know me, my name's up there, but I'm president of the Democratic Club of Delray Beach, and I am worried, frustrated, pissed, angry. There are only 117 days to November 8th. And you may remember that Donald Trump was elected on November 8th, 6 years ago. We're in danger of getting someone even worse 2 years from now if we don't get our act together right now. We're not only facing Republican lies and vitriol and malevolence, but a craven, clueless corporate media, the so-called liberal media, that's ready and willing to provide the crypto fascists with the propaganda they need to destroy our democracy, just so long as they can sell newspapers and advertising. There's almost no report of 9.5 million jobs created since Joe Biden took office. The 5.7% increase in gross domestic product last year, the biggest ever in a first year, and an unemployment rate that fell from 6.4 to 3.6%, when the Congressional Budget Office had projected it would remain above 4% for the remainder of the decade. Childhood poverty fell 35% last year, thanks to direct payments to Americans with children that was included in the American Rescue Plan Act. That program terminated at the end of the year, and poverty spiked in January of this year. But for the monolithic Republican opposition, it would have been continued. All in all, with the exception of one statistic, Joe Biden's first year was economically the best first year of any president since FDR. Yet all we hear about is that one statistic, a steady drumbeat of inflation, inflation, inflation. No mention of the fact that workers are actually experiencing wage increases for the first time since little Ronnie Reagan, as Betty Davis used to call him, was in office. The other big thing for the so-called liberal media are the Democrats' trademark circular firing squads. Republicans may have sentenced untold numbers of women to death when Roe was finally overruled, but they gave us an opportunity to hold Congress when everyone was projecting a rout. But now the so-called liberal media is fixated on complaints that Joe Biden is not doing enough. I have tremendous respect for AOC, but we should not be giving the media ammunition. We need to go on the offensive against the religious fundamentalists on the Supreme Court who want to take us back to the Salem witch trials. We need to go on the offensive against Ron DeSantis's Civics Excellent Initiative. I don't know if anyone saw this, but they just ran a workshop for public school teachers in Broward over the weekend. And a report, participants complained it was infused with a Christian and conservative ideology. It downplayed the role the colonies and later the United States had in the history of slavery. It said flat out lies that the founders did not intend a strict separation of church and state. For 80 years, the Supreme Court has been saying the converse, and the history around the drafting of the First Amendment made clear that that's exactly what they intended. They did not, as this initiative was trying to indoctrinate people, they did not want or favor Christianity. And that's where they want to take us now. So we need to be telling everyone who'll listen, and even people who won't listen, that the Republicans are the extremists. They're the noisy majority. They're the ones threatening our country and our planet. And to channel Benjamin Franklin, now is the time to hang together, because if we do not, we surely will hang separately. So we're going to be talking later about things we can all be doing, and Arlene was talking about it earlier, that we can be doing to silence and surprise the naysayers who say that there's going to be a rout in November. This is a winnable midterm if we all work together. So I'd like to introduce Aramis Ayala, who we heard Shar, David, and I guess at a DEC meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we're really blown away. She's dynamic, she's progressive, she's the former state attorney in District 9, and she's running for Florida Attorney General, and she would be great. And there she is. So if you want to take over.
I shall. Thank you for that introduction. I don't know how I can follow that and still look grand. It was very powerful. I will start out and tell you that I agree 100%. We have got to support our president. When we were on the heels of, an enormous destruction of this country, and we had someone who came and stood up and is fighting for just the stability of this country, the best thing that we can do is support. So I want you all to know from the outset that no matter where we stand, I'm standing next to our president. And I live by that. Can we find fault with anyone? Yes, but part of leadership is exposing yourself to the imperfections. Part of leadership is understanding that you're going to attract some of those. I've lived it and I understand it, but we have to keep moving forward. My name is Aramis Ayala, and I am running to be the next Attorney General for the state of Florida. I made a decision to run when I realized what was happening this past legislative session. While I served as the elected state attorney in Orange and Osceola counties, the Ninth Circuit of Florida, I was elected in 2016 and became the first African-American person to ever serve the state of Florida in that position. I became the first woman in my circuit. And I often tell people that being the first means nothing if you're not going to make the first type policies. So we built an entire system, change the trajectory of justice in our community by creating diversion programs for people who had mental health issues, for people who had addiction issues, for mental health, suspended license, nonviolent crimes. We weren't prosecuting small amounts of cannabis and weed to bring more people into the system. So we created diversion programs for underage drinking, certainly for juveniles, to ensure that they weren't becoming part of the system, because all the research that I was able to find is that the more you are associated with the system, the more likely you are to engage in future activity. So as the prosecutor, it was my responsibility to think about public safety in another way by reducing recidivism. We also created a conviction integrity unit that looked beyond what the face of a case looked like and actually sought for truth. We were overturning cases that we couldn't just say, oh, we can't prove it, and we were actually able to prove people did not commit crimes. And we were changing their lives. Even one man who was facing deportation 30 days away, we were able to halt his deportation because the truth came out. In addition to the Conviction Integrity Unit, like I said, I led the state in bail reform, creating bail reform because I was looking at people who had committed murder, but they were millionaires. And they could be sitting out in our streets, jeopardizing all of our safety, while you have Black, brown, and poor people sitting in custody because they don't have $500 on a suspended license. That is what injustice looks like. So creating bail reform. I also created the first ever Brady list. We have this misconception that Democrats don't like police officers. I want to see right now the hand of anybody. If your home is being robbed, vandalized, or anything right now, that you're not going to call the police. The issue is not police. It is corrupt police. It is dangerous police. It is police who are creating an issue and committing crimes against people. That's the issue that we have. So I think we have to be very clear that we are not trying to undo policing. We just want credible policing. And that's what I did as the state attorney. I created a policy that we disclosed to the community officers who had credibility issues. And we even found one officer, you can look it up. His name is Jonathan Mills. Jonathan Mills had been named Officer of the Year by the Orlando Police Department. And after being named Officer of the Year, the community reached out to my office and said, how can he be? This man is terrorizing us. We conducted an investigation while creating that Brady list, and we found that he had multiple complaints of violating the rights of people, and one stood out to us. In 2014, he stopped a Black male. He searched him. No weapons were found, no drugs were found, and he continued to search more, so much so that he sodomized the man. He went after being sodomized, he went to the police department. He filed a report, internal affairs looked at it, and then the case was closed. It never was submitted to the prosecutor, but for us looking and finding that information, this would still be unknown. But as a result of our investigation and looking, he not only lost his job, he lost his license to be a police officer, his certification, and he is currently being prosecuted for sexual battery. That is what justice and change looks like. So I'm proud of the work that we did. And then most importantly, I tell people, we make change for the name of public safety. My office never compromised public safety. And I know Republicans think that they have this monopoly on public safety, but public safety is reducing crime, reducing recidivism, making certain that domestic violence cases aren't perpetuated, that children are safe. This is what real public safety looks like. Public safety is more than the mass incarceration, again, of Black and brown and poor people. Safety is on your job, because when we looked at COVID, those people who were on the front lines working in the hospitals, if any of you were them, how safe did you feel during COVID? That's what public safety is. It is much more than that. How safe are we been feeling about guns just running around the street when we should be banning assault rifles? Those are issues, because I'm not certain how safe I feel sending my kids to school, going to shop, going to church. We've got to do something with firearms. These are issues of public safety, and they cannot own public safety, because on January 6th, I don't know what you saw, but I saw everything but law and order and everything but public safety trying to overturn our government. I'm going to do the things that I did as state attorney and build upon that. It is all about why you're running. And I tell everybody I'm running for 3 reasons. I'm running to protect your constitutional rights and freedoms. We are not free, despite having a governor say that we are free. Unfortunately, we are not. We are looking at an attack. Every single woman in this state and across this nation has been under attack as a result about the loss of her humanity. We can say bodily autonomy, it is that. We can say right to access abortion, it is that. But the real issue is the loss of who we are as a whole human being. And I have 2 young daughters who I care about their rights to say who they are. And I'm going to fight tooth and nail to make certain that we don't lose those rights. As the Attorney General, that is a constitutional right that I will protect. You know, a lot of people were bragging and saying, oh, well, I'm never going to prosecute a woman and I'm going to do this. The reality is we are lawyers. At the top of the law enforcement chain, the lead law enforcement officer of the state, the Attorney General, must understand the law and the Constitution. So instead of just saying I won't prosecute them, I made it clear why. It is called the privacy part. The privacy clause of our Constitution protects women from that. And that is what I will stand on for our rights, for the protection of safe access to abortions. And I will live for that, because protecting women's rights is really, really, really important, because the beginning of that means that all else can fail. If you are Black, you're in trouble. If you are brown, you are in trouble. If you are poor, you are in trouble. If you are gay, you are in trouble. If you're an immigrant, you're in trouble. You are in trouble if you are anything other than a rich, conservative, white male. And we have to understand that we are stronger together, because there are more of us who are being marginalized than there are those who are patting their pockets with the wealth on the backs of people. So I have the benefit of understanding the inside workings. I'm running to protect constitutional rights, because all of our rights are in jeopardy. And when we talk about the Second Amendment, I remind people that the Second Amendment has 2 words. If you want your Second Amendment, we don't have to fight about that, but we will fight about the 2 words called well-regulated.
And that is what we're failing to do, is regulate any type of guns in this country. We are allowing people to be fast and loose and claim a right to do so at the expense of young children, at the expense of all of us who are trying to live a safe life. When you think about other constitutional rights, all of them matter. I'm running to protect the constitutional rights and maintaining the integrity of our laws so that they are interpreted to benefit the people and not just the powerful. The second reason that I'm running, again, as I already outlined, is for our public safety. And the third reason is to create an economy that works for all of us. Why don't we have any investigations into insurance companies creating fraud? You know, you look in the Panhandle, you look other areas where people are having their homes insured, hurricanes hit, and these insurance companies are dried up and gone with the money, while people are sitting there and their homes cannot be fixed. We're looking at the insurance premiums of housing. We're looking at affordable housing. These are the corporate interests that are impacting our entire state, and no one is looking into them. That is my promise to the people, that day one, I will take an inventory to see where we stand with corporations and how we can go after them. I'm not supported by corporations. I am supported by the people. My campaign has been endorsed by diverse states, by diverse organizations across the state and the nation, and even here locally. I've been endorsed by SEIU. I stand with the laborers. I've been endorsed by the Collective PAC. I've been endorsed by Way to Lead. I've been endorsed by Ruthless as a result of my pro-choice positions that is extremely strong and unwavering. I've been endorsed by College Democrats, which lets you know that I completely support, young people and understand that we have a world to lead them, which is why also why Youth for Climate Action has endorsed my campaign. I've been endorsed by the Democracy for America and Working Families Party. These are people and organizations who stand with and for the people. And when you name drop individuals and or organizations, you're not only saying who endorses you, but you're also saying who you endorse and will speak for. I will always speak for the people. And I look forward to taking any of your questions about my candidacy. I am excited for people to know who I am, to ask me any questions. I am an open book. I feel confident about who I am. I have traveled the state of Florida as far as furthest west to Pensacola, all the way over to Jacksonville, down to Miami, and many places in between. This is about representing all Floridians, and I will do everything in my power to ensure that your voice is heard as a legal option, as the constitutional foundation of our state. I want to thank you for your time.
Wow. I hope everyone sees what I meant in the introduction. You can either raise your hands, put questions in the chat. While you're thinking about questions, I'm just going to say one thing, which is since you're running for Attorney General, I'm sure you noticed that our current Attorney General wanted to accelerate to the Supreme Court. Wanted the Supreme Court to opine on a matter of state law and the state constitution, which when I went to law school was something that you didn't get out of the first or second class in constitutional law without learning that the federal courts have no business interfering in matters of state law. So I just thought it was
this amendment, 10th Amendment is kind of the states' rights thing that we in the federal law. Yeah. So yes, I will say the one thing that really was concerning to me is that it started with the decimation of those congressional districts in the state of Florida when the governor was issuing and redrawing the maps. And he asked the Supreme Court, she supported it. And I said, absolutely not. As the Attorney General, that's your job to issue an advisory opinion. That is your responsibility to tell the governor, based upon 2010, when we voted for fair districts, the people added that to the Constitution, the people's voice has spoken, and it is the law. We are violating the law if we violate those constitutional lines and gerrymander unconstitutionally. So she should have drafted an opinion. That is exactly what I would have
done. So while she's sitting here abdicating her responsibilities as the Attorney General, I'm ready to show Floridians that I can be and will be the real Attorney General, who is not afraid to stand against the governor, who is not afraid to take on injustice and draft whatever opinion that outlines it, letting us know when things are unconstitutional.
Michael, I have one question for
Sure.
Aramis Ayala. How are you, Aramis? My name is Hassan Jahangir. I'm also one of the candidates for Florida House District 92. Now, one of my question to you is, I know that you have a lot of plan and everything, a lot of things you're gonna do, but while the majority of the House and Senate are owned by Republican Party, how are you gonna pass all of those things you're talking about?
So it is not the part of it. You're talking about how am I going to pass these things?
Right.
All right. So we have to remember the way that it is set up. The Attorney General is an executive position in the government, meaning that she can establish policy that does not have to be approved by the legislature. If you are trying to create formal legislation, the Attorney General does have the authority to create a legislative agenda that may cause challenges. But as it relates to policy, the Attorney General has the ability to establish groundwork and rules and establish a foundation for how people have to respond, whether it's creating dashboards that expose it or creating responsibilities for different agencies that have to live up to what they have done. So to their decisions. So the Attorney General does not answer to the legislature, nor does she get approval from the legislature. She is a part of the Florida cabinet. The Florida cabinet was created to decentralize the power of the governor. So one of three positions, in the same way the Commissioner of Agriculture and the CFO doesn't answer to the legislature, neither does the Attorney General.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're muted, Michael.
Sorry, there was a question in the chat about vote by mail registrations. And the question was whether we need to sign up for absentee ballots again. My understanding is if the new law, what the Brennan Center calls the omnibus voter suppression law, if that is not struck down, you do not need to re-register if you registered to vote by mail in 2020. If, however, you registered in 2018 and your registration at that time covered 2018 and 2020, you do need to re-register now. And it's a simple process. Deborah, I'll put in the chat the links to do so.
Michael, if I could just make one statement. My cat. For the vote by mail, I just want to be clear, it's to request, because that's not automatic. For registration, if nothing's changed from the first time that you registered, like your signature or your address or your name, that's still good. But
no, we're talking about, the question was whether you need to sign up for absentee ballots again.
That was her second one, yes. And it is good through 2022. If she received an absentee ballot in her last election, if she's used it, it's good through 2022, as Hassan was saying. And then
that's not that, Arlene, that is not my understanding. And maybe State Attorney Ayala could opine on that. My understanding is that if you registered to vote by mail, if your initial registration was before 2020, it would have carried through 2020. But the only thing that is grandfathered is someone who registered in 2020. There are many people who have been registered to vote by mail, and every election, when they send back their ballot, they tick the little box that says keep me on. Okay, keep me on is in my understanding, it's not enough to keep you on. You need to go and re-register if your original registration was before 2020.
Mm-mm.
That's what I talked to Phil Cerruti about that, and you know, I mean, it's a simple enough matter, and in fact, the whole thrust of the phone banks that the DEC has been doing has been to alert people to the fact that their vote by mail had expired. I mean, and I've looked at some on Van, some of the people that I stop by their houses and try to give them new ones. Oh, no, we're registered. And you go and look on Van and it shows that they're registered through 2020, not through 2022.
I'll tell everyone that that's what the federal litigation that Moody was trying to put us in by suing the federal government for requiring states to have to explain and go through a process if they want to change any of the election mandates. And as a result of that, that litigation is just sitting there quiet, because we should have to, under the Voting Rights Act, there were mandates that required any changes to state law regarding voting and elections have to be approved at a federal level by a judge. So these are concerns that we're looking at right now, that it's not happening, but there is no voice in Tallahassee to ensure that. And that's one of the things that we have to stand up for. That's one of the reasons I'm running.
So my question is then, do we have, if we registered prior to 18, if we lived here a long time, do we have to re-register to get an absentee ballot? And if so,
it's simple. What I did was I registered in 2020, but I'm a belt and suspenders guy, and I went out to the SOE and I tried to re-register, and I was told, no, you're okay, you're registered for 2022. I would do the same thing. I'll give you the link if you don't have it. Go out and request a vote by mail, and you can do it online, or you can call. I'll give you the number, and you can check with the SOE's office, and they'll tell you. And if they tell you that you are not registered to receive a vote by mail ballot, then you know you need to re-register.
You can also just go to pbcelections.org. That's going to take you to the Supervisor of Elections.
Arlene, that's what I just said. I'm going to put the link in the thing. I said she can either go online or call. Okay, it's part of the script for our phone banking. So when did you first register, Deborah?
I'm thinking probably, I don't know, I've been here 10 years, 11 years. So probably when I first got here.
Right. And so what you've been doing at the end of each time you send in your vote by mail, you tick off, you know, keep me, I want to remain for the next cycle, right?
I would assume so. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'll check.
Right. Well, see, that's what the law changed.
It's not going to be on the envelope anymore, the tick off the little box. The envelope is changing.
No, yes, that's correct. But the fact is that the law said, the new law says that you are good for a single election cycle, not two, the way it used to be. Okay, so if you were good, if you did it in 2020 and you ticked the box, which you could in 2020, or you could in 2018 or whatever, the law said that you're ticking the box was not sufficient, because the new law is it's only a single cycle, but they grandfathered anybody who ticked the box in 2020. Okay, but if so I guess, Deborah, if you ticked the box in 2020, and then you should be covered. But the the way to be absolutely certain, and I see Mark just checked his online, and standing requests to receive a vote by mail ballot in elections occurring. Wow, that's weird. On or before 2024.
That's how mine is too. I just checked the other day.
Yes, yes, you're good through 2022. That 2024 is an error. They have not cleared it yet. But you are, I just had a neighbor call me today and we worked through it. And yes, she is, her request for VBM is good, You don't, so Michael, I'm not sure, what your, I'll just be quiet, but yes, I think everyone should check their status and then they'll see that they're good.
Exactly. You can call them. The answer is very fast.
Yeah.
You can just go online, like both Michael and Arlene said,
Okay,
and check your status.
okay.
Well, and I think that what probably happened is the grandfathering is if you checked it, if you check the box in 2020, then you ordinarily in 2022 there's not going to be a box to check, right? And it's only good for a single election cycle.
Exactly.
If you didn't, I guess if you didn't check the box in 2020, then you're not grandfathered.
Right. Okay.
But we digress. The questions for our speaker.
I have a question, if it's okay, Michael.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jeff Cash. Very nice to hear from you. You seem very enthusiastic, and I'm very excited that you will win your position, Ms. Ayala. My question is, if you're successful, and unfortunately our current governor is also successful, how do you avoid being marginalized by him as maybe the only Democrat on the cabinet?
So I hesitate answering because the way that I want to answer may be a little crass. The bottom line is I'm a woman.
Can we turn off the recording so you can say whatever you like?
No, it's not something I don't want to hear again. I don't want to come across to you all as being anything other than, who I am. The reality is I'm a woman. I'm a Black woman. I'm a Black woman who's a Democrat in Florida. I have already been marginalized. Like it's a way of life that I've never had certain privileges, and we just learn how to move and groove with it. When I was the state attorney, being the first, as I said, Black state attorney in Florida was already problematic, right? Like for them. Everyone asks, well, how are you doing? I said, ask them how they're doing, because I'm just fine. I'm making changes and I'm making moves, and this is a part of our life. I think that I do have to be mindful that there's going to be a struggle. But I'm built for it. This is what we do, and I think that they have to understand that the real threat is how we utilize the law and the Constitution, and that will be my superpower as the Attorney General. I don't have to wait on how someone feels. I don't have to cater and coddle, a governor who is unjust and is set out to build his platform for his future. While it is every fiber in my being is praying that he is not reelected and I will have a smoother sail, I am prepared to win this election and handle him the way that he needs to be handled. And that is like a child who doesn't understand the law. Unfortunately, he has this degree that he brags about, but you're not able to see the product of his degree, and you're not even able to see the common sense or the application of it. I'll be more than happy to remind him what constitutional law looks like. I'll be more than happy to help him understand what investigations of corporate activity looks like. And I will be more than happy to let him know what a true representative of the people's voice under the Constitution looks like. So I'm okay with it. And I appreciate that, Arlene. It is all about, people standing with me.
and understanding this is a legal job. You know, a lot of people think I'm afraid of having the conversation about the death penalty, and I'm not. You know, I made the statement, and I always welcome the conversation, because this position is an attorney. And whenever anyone goes to talk to an attorney, if you are an attorney, if you've ever seen one, what do you want? You want evidence and you want facts. So let's talk about the facts associated with the death penalty. When it comes to the death penalty, it is not a deterrent. The states that have the death penalty have higher homicide rates than the states that don't, including Florida. When you talk about the disparate treatment of Black people, and it's racially disparate, the numbers prove that. When you talk about the PTSD associated, we seem to care so much about mental health, but no one talks about the mental health of those who actually have to carry out causing the death of someone. I've interviewed them. I've spoken to them. I was over in the European Parliament talking about the death penalty and understand how that impacts people. The two other things is that Florida leads the nation in death row exonerations, meaning we get it wrong the most. And we spend $51 million every single year to keep the death penalty going. So when anyone, feels that we should still have the death penalty, when someone may need a hug, or they may feel better about it, or makes them angry, I get it. But I'm prepared as the legal arm of the state of Florida to discuss evidentiary issues related to policies. So that's what I will do on how I will handle the governor, is not get into my feelings. I have the poise, I have the self-control to be able to manage childlike behavior and leadership positions. And I will always use the power of the law and the Constitution and how I interpret it to benefit the people of the state of Florida. I'm prepared. The real question is he.
Very good, thanks.
I always joked that the only thing I would like the death penalty for is white collar crime, because that
Never heard anybody say that.
Yeah, no, I mean, you talk about the deterrent effect, right? That would get their attention. But of course, I'm only joking. So, no more questions.
I do.
Sure.
Mine's a little off topic though. We're precinct leaders here, and we're going to be doing canvassing. Do you have promotional material to hand out that we might include?
I just ordered another 10,000 today. So I should have some, she said the 2 to 3 days and then a day of shipping. So I should have some of those. Again, and I hate to say this, if I will try to, Nisha, I think you're on the call, put that on the to-do list, please, that we can send it to them or anyone so that we can have it in your office. But yeah, we have multiple places across the state and we will get our word out. So yes, ma'am, we do.
That would be great.
Because we'd like about 500 if you have them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Shar, always thinking, Shar, that's great. No, that we would be, honored to be given out your literature, really.
Thank you.
So, any more? Okay, well, Charlie,
I see Charlie.
Charlie, go ahead, Charlie.
Yes, I'd like to know, is DeSantis going to get away with the gerrymandering out of the majority Black district? Is he going to get away with that for the next election? Is that
for this election, because of the Attorney General, I can see it now. The lawsuits that may incur as a result of that will depend on who's the Attorney General next. If it is me, absolutely not. If it is someone else, it is concerning me. Because even in my race, like, I'm the only one talking about the voting issue. Everyone's talking about anti-DeSantis. Yes, we're anti-DeSantis. Everyone's talking about, anti-Ashley Moody. Yes, we're anti that, but we have to be for something. And that's, so I am for fair districts. I am for, anything that continues to avoid diluting the Black vote, which is against the law. So the answer is, for this particular election, unfortunately, we haven't had the legal representation we need. So it probably will stand. When the lawsuits come and how we handle it, it will depend on who's the Attorney General.
Thank you.
In terms of the pre-clearance that you spoke of for, isn't that gone after Shelby County? I mean, we can still sue to challenge a change in the law. But I thought that the Roberts Court and our Chief Justice, who's now being painted, is not as crazy as the rest of them. He was the one that penned that decision.
So here's what happens. If a person sues, the Attorney General has complete authority to make a decision on whether or not we fight the litigation or
I
whether or
see.
not we go forward. So
Okay.
if I say I'm not going forward, it doesn't matter what anyone else has said.
Right.
That is the authority of the Attorney General to truly be the voice of the people.
Great. Well, I mean, that makes a huge difference, of course. Yeah. John Roberts wouldn't have been on the court if Ralph Nader didn't get 97,000 votes in Florida in 2000, which not enough people remember. More questions? Charlie, your hand's still up, but
Okay, I'll put my-
David.
Yeah, I saw Val Deming's commercial, where she was, talking about defund the police. That's crazy. And obviously you have to walk on, a tightrope on this, because the concept of diverting funding to mental health intervention, and that is a wonderful idea. But whoever came up with the, whoever came up with the slogan of defund the police, just sunk Democrats left and right all across the board. And I mean, and you mentioned it, and Val mentioned it has to be, right from the start. I thought it was a brilliant ad. It's going to piss off some people, it's gonna, but it was such, I don't know. I mean, sometimes we kill ourselves with our own rhetoric, with our own labels. And that was, I mean, as soon as I heard the term, I was like, "Hey, are we in trouble?"
Abolish ICE.
Thank you. Okay, that was my guess. So, I mean, if you want to talk about that.
I don't disagree if that's what you were saying. I don't disagree that we have to be very mindful of how we articulate our concerns, but we also have to be sensitive to where that anger, frustration is coming from. So while we cannot ostracize people who don't want to hear that rhetoric, we also, as Democrats, have to understand we don't want to ostracize those who have been harmed by police, those who have been impacted. And that's what leadership is. Leadership requires you to change the narrative and to unite people instead of isolating people and having to take a stand that crushes people. As the Attorney General, I don't want to crush anyone. I want to represent everyone, but I want to do it in a way that preserves our democracy, establishes our public safety, and constantly speaks radical truth. It's not about extremists. It's not about radical policies. It is about radical truth. And the truth is we have to do better as a country, and I want to lead the state in doing so.
Wow. Well, we're going to do whatever small mountains we can move to make that possible, really. Patty Whitehill has her hand up. You have to unmute, Patty. Oh, hands down.
No, that wasn't a hand up. It was a big applause. Yay!
So, okay, well, thank you so much, really. You more than lived up to billing. So.
Well, I want to thank you all for the opportunity. I don't take it lightly. I was 18. I remember Bill Clinton running for president, and that was my first time going into the booth with my mom. I had not turned 18, so I wasn't able to actually vote, but I remember not being able to wait until I could register to vote. I registered as a Democrat. I have fought for democratic values, and this is who I am. So I don't take lightly the work of what local Democratic committees and clubs do. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for sharing this. Thank you for receiving me. Let us go win. Let us do what we need to do. I would hope that you would visit my website at aramisayala.com. Contribute what you can. We've got an uphill battle, but we can do it based upon the work that was done in 2018, where we only lost the governor's race by less than 33,000 votes, but we also re-established and allowed voting rights for over 1 million Floridians. My husband is a past president of the first chapter of FRC here in Central Florida, and they have identified, it's a family affair, they have identified 192,000 who are registered and ready to vote in this election. So if we're able to court them, identify them specifically, and target them, we get them out to vote. We go to the same areas that Nikki freed, and during the governor's race, we go to those spots, those areas, we make it out to the ones that are supposed to be red, realizing that there's still Democrats there, and we can win this race. I'm excited about it, and I really would appreciate your support, any contribution that you can make, but certainly your vote. Thank you so very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
That was the loudest muted applause I've ever heard. I want to,
Everyone was muted.
yes.
So next, in August, we hope to be meeting in person. No guarantees. I told you that. You got to call the Pompey Park. And Dr. Mark LaFalez will be our speaker. He's the president of the Haitian American Caucus. And that's definitely a group that we need to, see voting strongly as a bloc. How many people that are still here on the call, just raise your hands if you have done any canvassing, phone banking, anything, because we really got to get going on it. There's
Michael, you're gonna give Michael. This is Hassan. You're gonna give me a little time to introduce myself.
Go ahead, and then we'll. But I do want to encourage everybody. You don't have to. It's brutal out there. Arlene, is Arlene still here? Arlene's. There you are. Arlene is going to be out again on this Saturday. And we were out a couple of weeks ago. It is very hot. But you don't have to do that. I mean, there are phone banks, and people don't answer their phones, but you can leave a message. I mean, people need to understand just how important this election is. I mean, I have no patience for these people who say, oh, they're all bad. I mean, the Biden 33% approval rating. We need someone else. I mean, grow up. I mean, well, anyway, Hassan, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Hi, friends. My name is Hassan Jahangir. I'm a candidate for Florida House District 92. That's a new district. There is no incumbent on this district. I live in this district for last 45 years. I raised my kid, my whole family in this district. We have a business, family-owned business in this 3 cities: West Boynton, West Delray, West Boca. Day in, day out, I've been with with my neighbors and my constituents for last 35 years. And I'm not here only for the election time. I'm a DEC member. I'm the ex-president of Bangladesh American Democratic Club. And I work with a lot of you every single time when there is a hurricane hit. Every single time we are at the civic center handing out the food and everything to the people lives in this district. Then the COVID time, I was at the mall working side by side with the Feeding America every day for 14 days, serving people the food. School shooting, I was there at the Parkland. So I'm not a stranger on this district. My main goal is that I'm a fresh blood. I want to represent you the right way. I will make sure, including me, if you give me this chance, and if we elect me, and if you give me chance and then elect me in this primary, I will make sure, including me, every elected official work for their money. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Hassan.
Thanks.
Any comments, questions?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, only that I'm going to probably combine my phone bank calls on behalf of Val Demings and, the Democratic cause, because my heart is with Val.
mhm. That's
She was
right.
my
You
chief-
lived.
I lived there for 10 years.
Yeah.
She was my chief of police. I've
Mhm.
seen her publicly, and her husband protected me as a teacher in lockdowns, and my kids got home safely.
Mhm.
Means a lot to me.
And, I mean, both Rubio and DeSantis are beatable. They are, I mean, somebody pointed out, I think Mary Fader pointed out, I was wrong about that, that the last president that was as short as Ron DeSantis was Millard Fillmore back in the 1850s. Actually, Harry Truman was the same height, which is 5'9". But Trump called Rubio Little Marco. It's little Ronnie DeSantis now. I mean, I used to love Dennis Kucinich. I don't care if you're 4'8" and running. It's your policies. But DeSantis, he doesn't have the mountainous presentation that Trump had. He's not tall and slim the way Obama was, the way Clinton was. And he's crazy. He's thin-skinned. He picks fights with everyone. He's got his enemies list like Richard Nixon. If we get someone, I don't care. I mean, I personally think Charlie Crist would be a stronger candidate, but Nikki Fried can get under his skin. Charlie Crist, I used to say is our Joe Biden, but these days you don't want to say anyone is our Joe Biden, unfortunately. But anyway, I have nothing more. David, you want to do a countdown unless
Well, I have a question for David.
We have a question for David?
Yes. Based
Oh,
on
good.
what somebody said earlier, does that mean that, I think it was Hassan that said it, but can we, under Florida law, go door to door to Democrats in Rainbury?
I took note of that. I'm not convinced that's correct, but we certainly could look into it.
I think so. I mean, I can always stuff the Delray Democrat bags with stuff.
But it does cut both ways.
yeah.
So,
Well, the Republicans here aren't that forceful. They're just angry.
They're angry because I'm in the field and I knock on the door, and I think it's more than 50% of the Republican women are against this. I mean, against the abortion law that has passed. So
Yeah.
if we hit it right, if we take it right, we can win this midterm. This will be our
Yeah.
turning point.
Yeah. As I said at the beginning, it sounds ghoulish to say they gave us a gift, because a lot of women are going to suffer and die as a result. But this was not. That's why John Roberts, who is has been a crud from the get-go. I just call balls and strikes bullshit. You know, he's a conservative activist that was only upset that that they moved a little too fast on it. You know, he would have rather kill Roe by bits and pieces. He was the one that upheld Obamacare, if you remember, in 2012, and he did it. He did it because it was an election year, and he was afraid that if the Supreme Court ruled it unconstitutional, it would help Obama. So
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
bye, everyone.
Everyone.